gotta live for today and forget about the past. Fighting with yourself, fighting with your life.
What's up, everybody? And today we're going to be reviewing Conway's From a King to a God. Griselda fans, rejoice. Conway just dropped. Hopefully Benny drops soon. Westside is dropping. So yeah, the Griselda machine is keeping on. And we're going to get into this album just straight off the bat. No frills. The intro, it starts off the album great. As you guys can probably tell, I'm in a good mood because I've been waiting on this album. He's dropped a whole bunch of projects. Probably one of my favorite projects from the year was Lulu. Dope project. That was all Alchemist. It was seven songs. But it was very one-dimensional. Like, it was very one style of rap that you got from Conway as far as content, which I love, but that was that. And I had my own doubts if he was going to be able to have different things on the album. And we're going to get there. But the intro, Derringer did his thing on the beat. He's talking that stuff. He's talking about his shooters, letting his shooters, giving them the ultimate green light like Dan Tony. When he's done cooking raw, he make that girl wash the dishes. He's feet up in the offices, talking business. He's just talking that stuff, and it sets the tone for the whole album. The beat is perfect, just what you want from a Griselda project. Sometimes I feel that Conway's beats are more grittier. Westside sometimes can do like a hybrid, and then Benny gives you also a hybrid. But sometimes Conway's beats are the darkest, so if you like the darkest beats or that style, this album gives you that. That intro is perfect. Then the second song, the Dej Loaf song, Hit Boy's on fire. Nas, Big Sean, Hit Boy's on fire. And I'm looking forward to what he did for Benny, because I think what Hit Boy did was a blend of what he does with also the Griselda sound. And Dej Loaf, perfect hook. Just fear of God, perfect. He talks about playing black on both sides. Like, I was surprised hearing that from him. Like, I'm thinking Conway's playing Beanie Siegel in the Locks just because of his persona and what he raps about. But he's letting you know that he's listening to a variety of different things. And he's listening to a variety of different things. And that just like, okay, he's listening to something different, black on both sides. Menacing beat, different from what Hit Boy has given Big Sean, and different than what Hit Boy has given Nas. So Hit Boy's really shining in his versatility as a producer. And then the next song is Lemon. Most of you people, if you're watching this review, have seen the video or heard the song. Hey, Conway did his thing. But one thing about this I want to talk about, one thing about this project, all the features, or most of the features on here, the rapping features are, I'm not going to say they outshine Conway, but like they bring their A game, and Conway brings his A game, but the verses from most of the features are very memorable. This Meth verse, Meth sounded like this was 94. This Meth sounded like it was Biggie's The Warning or Mobb Deep, like when he was on one of those, the Hell on Earth album. He sounds fresh, and he did that battle with Math, and he had lines in there, and he's acting on Power Season 2 or Power 2 or whatever it's called. But Meth is bringing it, and that beat is crazy. I think that beat was a beat butcher. I might be wrong, but I think Meth needs an album. Meth needs an album right now. He's talking about ain't gotta tell you I'm dope. Put the needle in. He's just he wrote the beat perfect. Conway killed it. Meth killed it. Dope video. Yeah. So hopefully, did we get a Meth album out of this? The next beat is an Alchemist beat. And I'm forgetting now the producer, Alchemist, and I think Beat Butcher, and I might be wrong. It changes up. It takes from Tupac's Juice. He ain't got to give you the gun because he already got it, motherfucker. Like, Conway, when the beat came on, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a cool beat. and then the piano keys come in and it's a totally different song. Why you gotta hold the gun? Like, he killed it, and the beat switch was perfect, and it made me look back like, is this a different song? No, it's the same song, juice skit, and dope song, and just Conway's just his lyricism, and people the last year I would say probably have more so been a Benny fan like me. Like, what drew me was Westside. And then, I was like, oh, Benny, plugs I met, and his joint before that, Tana Talk 3, I was like, man, I'm a Benny. Like, you choose people out of the group, right? And Benny was the one for me. And I'm not saying he's not, but Conway is making me like, ooh, who's my favorite out of the group? Like, Conway dropped, let's keep it going. So then the Havoc beat starts. Juvenile Hell, ode to the real first album from Mobb Deep, the real first album, which is Juvenile Hell from Mobb Deep. Rest in peace, Prodigy. Flea Lord, if you don't know about Flea Lord, dope underground New York rappers on the song. He got an album with P Rock that dropped, I think, early August. That's fire. Before I started really doing reviews, I would recommend that. Conway again kills it. I think Conway sets the bar, like, because he's so dope and he's bringing it with his lyricism and his rhyming, everybody else is bringing it. So Fleet Lord brings it. Havoc's on the hook. Good to hear Havoc production. And you don't hear that much Havoc production outside of the Mobb Deep sound. And that was, just dope. Goes to show you, like, the respect that people have for the Griselda. And then you have Banks. And this is what I'm talking about, like the features. Like, the features make you like, oh man, I haven't heard Meth. Or Lloyd Banks, right? And Lloyd Banks killed it, and makes you want something from Lloyd Banks on this type of stuff, away from 50 and just doing his own thing, because Lloyd Banks is still one of the best lyricists in the game. He even talks about that people fall off, and he takes time off and comes back, and he's done it twice, and he was just in the pocket. Lloyd Banks was in the pocket. It was a perfect beat from the ride to, and hopefully we hear more from Lloyd Banks. Then we get the skit, DJ Shay, rest in peace. He had just passed. This album has these skits. I don't know. These skits weren't on the album before he passed, and so you have a couple skits for DJ Shay. You also have some verses that he talked about DJ Shay that were really heartfelt. One thing about this album is you get hard bars from Conway the whole album. But at the same time, he's very vulnerable on this album. And even when he's talking about street tales, he's talking about crying. He's talking about wishing he can tell DJ Shay he loved him. And just a lot of things he talks about come from a vulnerable side. It's not just all street talk and I'm going to blow your head off and everything like that. He's also talking about the other side of the streets and the feelings that go into when you're out there and what you go through and the emotions you go through just being a street dude. And he talks about that, and that was very refreshing to hear. One of my favorite songs on the album was Frontlines, because it was very different to hear him on that. He has it's very modern. I don't know how, maybe recorded around the George Floyd stuff, because he's talking about the George Floyd situation. He's talking about racial profiling. He's talking about not just pushing record, but you're going to have to kill us all. What if it was his son? He would run up in the precinct and let it off. When he was talking about George Floyd, he's also talking about how white folks make laws, and that's how they can break them. And just a very different song than I would expect from him. But then early in the album, like I told you, he's talking about Most Def Black on both sides, and I think there's a conscious part of Conway that we don't really get to see too much, and on this album he showed that. Frontlines was a dope track and one of my favorite songs on the album, just because the versatility that he showed and the vulnerability that he showed and the consciousness that he showed from a street dude. It was very good to hear that, because even though a lot of people are rapping about things like that, it was just really dope to see. I would call him mainstream, but he's still underground, but just dope to see him put it out there. Then, the only song I didn't really like was Anza. It's my least favorite song, I'll say, on the album. I think he's rhyming his ass off on it. And just after Frontlines and in between the Freddie song, the song placement, I was like, oh, okay, Front Lines was fire, and then this song came on, and then the Freddie song came on. It just, I would say out of the whole album, this was the only song I was like, it's cool. It's not really for me. It's not something I'd be loving. Maybe after a few more listens, I'll like it a lot. But it's a cool song, but not just one of my favorites. Spurs 3. I mean, the Griselda fam, you get all three of them rhyming their ass off. That's what this album is. He's rhyming his ass off and he's showing his versatility on him. Rhyming his ass off. Like, there's not too many better than Conway and Benny and Westside, especially when they're all together talking their shit. The song for Shay, talking about writing the verse while getting dressed for his funeral. Just like I said, the vulnerability, him opening up his heart on this is really touching. Really, really touching to see that from this type of artist, a street artist, and because of the passing, you actually get to see how the passing had an effect on him while he's about to release his album. I think he went back and recorded some extra songs, the song with Crisis, the song with Primo, really soul song, hard lyrics, referencing Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray and 50 Points, and you can tell this is very like recent, but I had seen the track list and knew the album was coming out a month and a half, 2 months ago. So when Shay passed, I think he went back in the studio and did a couple things, and that goes to show the artist he is like, he, he has some things he got to say and people need to hear it. And he wanted on that Griselda song, he was also talking about just ask all these influencers about how people copy the Griselda sound, because you do get to see a lot of people maybe sounding kind of Griselda-ish now and going with that sound because it's prominent now, which is dope because that's the type of hip hop I like to listen to. Overall dope album, especially the debut, like an official debut. I believe this is on Shady. Like, I gotta check like while I'm talking to you guys, because I didn't. Is it on Shady? It's on Griselda Drumwork Empire. I thought he was on Shady. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe just Westside is, and maybe the group was, but I thought he was. But this is a dope album, and if we are rating, and like I started doing the Untapped system, which is, if you guys are familiar with beer, so 1 through 5 with a 0.5, 0.75, 0.25, quarter, half, and 3/4, and I would give this a 4.5. Like, off my first couple listens last night, this is really a dope offering. I think it's his best work. I think it's his best body of work. And the vulnerability is what put it over the edge for me. It wasn't just like Lulu or the joint that he did with Big Ghost. He's also revealing himself in a lot different ways, and I really, 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 really like that about this album, along with the hard lyrics, along with the hard beat, along with the beat switches. He had Rock Router on here, and Eric Sermon, and Crisis, and Primo, and Alchemist, Method Man, and Freddie Gibbs on the album, and Lloyd Banks. I mean, this is a great album. The features are great, but he still gets his shit off, so it's not feeling like it's like album feature heavy. He still is able to like really showcase himself, and so dope album. Can't wait. He probably will drop something next year, but just dope album. And rest in peace, DJ Shay, and can't wait to hear more from Benny and Westside in the next couple months. So that's all I got. Until next time, you guys take care. Peace and love. 100. I'm out.